Handbook for the New Paradigm. Chapter 5. It is resistance to recognizing the situation, and more resistance to being responsible for the changing of it, as well as the induced feeling of overwhelm that blocks the participation of the majority. The willingness to be responsible for personal conduct and to change the focus of perception is buried within the busy, frantic schedules of daily existence. Individuals find solace in their excuses for not confronting the growing signs of coming oppression. Breaking down this line of resistance and drawing as many of these into the new planned pattern of life remains the goal. Those of the dark plan have set their focus to overwhelm any human beings with plans to resist and have preconceived plans ready to move toward the crushing of resistance. However, there are none for the coming of a new vision. This leaves that opening available to us, in fact, the ideal opening. Our plan is not to fix the old, but to create the new. There will always be the repetition of certain ingrained habitual thoughts, hopefully not to the point of nausea. The skill of speaking, indeed even thinking, discreetly on the subject of those with plans contrary to the will of creation, will aid in helping to bring that style of referring to them into usage. The more variety in this application of presenting the subject being discussed, the better. It is easy for focused individuals to get right to the point, but this will not serve in the long run. It might be appropriate to point out that a linear progression within the scope of this project will not always be apparent. Divine order is the order of the day. And divine order does not follow man's ideas of sequence at all. You have set up certain unspoken, subconscious rules to give sequential order to your experience. The forces of God do not have to follow sequence to have organization. Therefore, it is important that once the process is initiated to a critical point, then you must trust in its completion of itself without the ego control, so familiar to each of you. This is imperative, lest you monkey wrench your own dream. Our cooperative effort, and it is that, must begin, continue and end with focus on a completed goal. It is the composite of dreams of what a utopian world would be like, one that each would truly like to experience, that will bring this to pass. This is the opposite of the resistance that is expected. How much time do each of you spend in this daydreaming process? Survival daydreams are more the norm in the group that we are depending upon for this formative process. Granted, such a thing as easy earth-compatible energy sources are a part of that dream, for luxuries of easy living are not appealing sacrifices for freedom of oppression. This is what is automatically supposed will be the cost of such change. Would a new paradigm of experience be without comforts? Different comforts probably, but I doubt anyone will feel any regrets for having given up the present situation. This again is the resist or be shoved backwards thought process that must be abandoned. That you want what will make your experience even better is a given, and it should be assumed. It must also be assumed there may be a short period necessary to endure in order for this change to happen, but it can be shorter than you might imagine. When this pivotal project is accomplished, our help is not only allowed, it is mandated. It is the beginning think tank discussions that will bring about the beginning of the change of expectation to an ever-expanding group. Think of a stone tossed into a pond. The ripples reach out to affect a greater and greater area. We call it a critical point, you refer to it as the 100th monkey theory. Think of the counter-thought group as having to send the ripples in from the outside to the middle. Remember, they are creating what is not in accordance with the laws of God. Their concentration is toward containment while your focus is toward rippling outward. Now, which one do you think works better? When these ripples meet, what happens? If you are using the same pond water, which one is likely to overwhelm the other, especially if the stone that is dropped is becoming larger and larger in what might be interpreted to be slow motion? Remember, there are vibrational effects that are, and will be brought into being that cannot be observed by you. Each time the thought pattern is focused toward the goal, it becomes further intensified. As it intensifies, it becomes more magnetic and attraction begins to build. You are not likely to surprise any of the contacts. What you are most likely to hear is that it has been in their thoughts already, but they just hadn't made the effort to follow through with its implications. The process will become appealing and challenging when you begin to dream of ways to use the mechanisms put in place for the use of those of opposite intentions. Doesn't that sound intriguing? Rather than destroy and resist, it might be possible to use some of what they have in place for your own intentions. You have focusing powers that are capable of many things when there is group participation, and a few innovations of your own can be added. Remember the pipe that sends vibrations to the crops in the fields? Ever wonder what else it is capable of doing? You might be surprised. Even the sound embedded in Dan Carlson's music tapes for the growth of plants might be interesting in the presence of their focused vibrations. Sonic bloom. Just a thought or two about what you already have available.